people. Happy 2022. You made it back for season 2.
Welcome back.
Of the drop. We've been renewed, so that's good news.
We're that good.
Yeah, and the staff is very happy. All our production team, they're incredibly excited.
Studio
about
audience.
We're working on that. Yeah, because we're still following very strict COVID guidelines. All right, man, let's kick it off. What is the first album of the new year?
It is Mary Lattimore. And I'm going to tell you, Mary Lattimore is kicking. We're going to go through a bunch of cool records by really esoteric, interesting artists. And I will tell you that usually, superstar artists, big artists, do not usually release records until you start to get to spring. Okay. So that is an opportunity for people that maybe to get shelf space when they might not normally for a new record because they're not a big name.
Right.
So we have a bunch of cool records here. And the first one is Mary Lattimore. And people might not know her name, but they have heard her. She plays on hundreds, if not thousands, of indie rock records and in film music. She is a harp player. And not just any harp player. She uses all kinds of signal processing in interesting ways to affect her instrument. And she's a really, really cool artist. Experimental, avant-garde. Again, a lot of film music. So this release, she's had a bunch of, like people of that genre, they're generally have great reviews, right?
Right.
So this is a compendium of her unreleased records, or her unreleased recordings from her vault on limited edition gold rippled vinyl.
Wow.
So, and it's with an embossed cover. Look how pretty that is.
So this will not shock you that I've never heard of Mary Lattimore.
It will not shock me. In fact, a lot of the artists we're going to talk about today, but they're all singular artists. I mean,
yes.
If you haven't heard of some of these people, check them out because they make really engaging, cool music that you should at least be aware of. You're looking for something different. This is your jump off point.
For all the folks that made the New Year's resolution and maybe to work on yourself, maybe to be, you're going to do some yoga, you're going to do some meditation. This is the album that you want.
Yeah.
It's really good. What I listen to, I really enjoy.
Yeah, she's very cool. And again, if you she's on tons of records by people. Just read the liner notes if you're an indie rock guy. She's on there.
All right.
This is a band. I think Ruben likes this band.
I definitely like them now.
So Dirty Three, Australian band. This is an archival release from 1996. This is one of their greatest records. They are an instrumental 3-piece. It's guitar, it's violin, and drums. And the violin player, Warren Ellis, scores a lot of films. But they really came out of the punk rock alternative scene in Australia and, have collaborated with Nick Cave and other artists more. It's definitely really dark, very cool. And again, you don't have many records that sound like this. So this is, and their records on their original pressings on vinyl are very valuable. So it's cool that they're back. I believe they played Rudyard's back in the day.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, a couple of times.
For me, the impression how I would describe it, if like Sonic Youth decided they were going to be in, just instrumental Americana.
Absolutely.
Or if Sonic Youth decided to score spaghetti westerns.
Yeah, there you go. That's excellent. Excellent. Very, very good, astute observation.
Thank you, my friend.
Your part.
Thank you.
Next up is Beach Fossils, and this is actually an anticipated record. People know these guys. This band or this person, they've really grown, and each record has sold more than the previous record, and their popularity has been mounting. We're seeing the catalog just slowly start to take up. So people are finding out about him. And this record is, of course, his name is Dustin
Payseur, Payseur, I think.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So he reimagines a lot of his most highly regarded songs with jazz musicians. So because normally it's very, his records are very spacey, reverb heavy.
Right. It doesn't sound like him with the normal band.
Right. So maybe not the place to jump off if you're curious about this guy, but to investigate for fans that are familiar with this work. But they were a cool band.
I would start a little earlier in the catalog.
And they're actually one of the groups that I think that the indie rock terrain. There's tons of artists out there. There's just so many, and very few I think that could connect to a really wider audience. And, and that you're like, ooh, they really got something. I think this artist could be much bigger.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, this Little Bitty Records.
Yes, sir.
These are reissues of, I'm sure there's some anniversary or something associated with it, but they did limited edition color reissues of 2 Elliott Smith 7-inches that haven't been available in forever on the Kill Rock Star label. What color we got here? What color you got?
Limited colored vinyl. Doesn't say.
Oh, it doesn't say. Well,
no, so you have to get
let's
it.
keep the mystery. Let's keep the mystery alive.
Let's keep it a
let
mystery.
it be. I got Needle in the Hay here, which is a
Great song.
Love it.
It's a great song.
He is so cool. And
yeah. So again, one of these guys that's influenced everybody.
Yeah, and you can almost say that his, now it's cross generational. Like he's on to, I see seeing teenagers buy those records, and so much like the Nirvana thing, it's different, but it's plugging into a lot of the same that template of how you just get reintroduced to new fans, and it's never going to
cycle continues.
Yeah, because it's great music.
Really good stuff.
Really great music. Okay, I love this guy. Let's talk about another guy that nobody knows.
Please keep him coming. Right.
Yeah. This guy, Bill Faye. So Bill Faye, the only way you might know about Bill Faye is because you're a Wilco fan. And Wilco covered one of his most highly regarded songs, of which I can't remember the name of the song. But let's see if I know it's on here. It's not. But it became like a fan favorite, and that's how people found out about him. Bill Faye recorded he's English, he recorded 2 records for Decca, which at the time was David Bowie's label, in the late 60s, early 70s. They sank without a trace. He didn't have a band. He didn't tour. And he went off to do whatever he was doing.
Right.
And but those records started to really fetch, and they are brilliant. 2 5-star records. They're very different. One is like an orchestrated pop record. He's got he's got a very cool somber voice. And then the next record he did like Astral Weeks, where he had a jazz band but didn't really rehearse the tracks too much, and they just went and cut a record.
Wow.
This is all stuff from his vaults of his unreleased recordings, and his first record, Bill Faye, which is him kind of walking on water, like Jesus, I'm guessing is the point of reference there.
Right.
That record is like one of the greatest records you've ever heard. And I'm very excited to hear recordings from him that haven't been available. And so to celebrate that there's new music from this guy, who's now in his, I'm guessing, late 70s, you have 2 very popular indie rock guys that covered songs by him on 7-inches, Steve Gunn and Kevin Morby.
Steve Gunn, one of your favorites.
Yeah, it backed with Bill Faye's version on the B-side. So I kind of like that they did split.
Sure.
So
compare and contrast.
Check out Bill Faye. You
can
stream him, find out about him. This is another one for this week. The Front Bottoms. This is a great sleep face.
That's a fantastic sleep face. Tell us about the Front Bottoms.
A duo, angular, folky, really herky-jerky, unusual folky duo. They have a very loyal fan base, but this is a reissue of their first record. Hasn't been available on vinyl in a decade, and they did a picture disc version. There's also a regular version.
So I'm guessing these are renditions of the 2 members.
Yeah,
is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, it made it real easy to figure out who to put on either side of it. But and they played the store before. It's really fun. I think you never see this come up in the descriptions from them. I think they're one of those groups that's very inspired by the Talking Heads. It's that kind of really quirky, upbeat.
Now I'm interested.
Yeah, they're a cool band.
And so instead of side 1 and side 2, you get a Brian side and a Matt side. So
are you more Brian or more Matt?
There you go.
Check it out.
Sure.
This is a reissue. They're the Craft label, which is a reissue label through Universal. They are working their way through the Travis catalog, and we get to the Invisible Band. How many years ago was this one? That is
originally. This was
I think it says on the sticker.
Early 2000, right?
Yeah, that's arguably their great record.
Right.
That's Flowers in the Window.
If you've heard them, this is the one you've heard.
Yes. And it is great, top to bottom. One of the great Britpop records. Of course, they're less, more flowery, less rock and roll than their cousins Oasis or Blur. Or
more towards the end of the Britpop thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But great songwriting, great vocals. They kind of they took some time off and they never really recaptured their momentum. But those early records, peaking with this one, that is a
very
terrific record.
Very cool.
Another reissue for this week. So this was one of the surprise record store day releases from a few years ago that people were going not sober.
Yeah.
And we were very astute and realized that people
Sure.
are going to want this because this
As
is
you are.
well, this again, this is the CD era,
Right.
and there was no vinyl when this album was originally big. This is Fountains of Wayne, really one of the great power pop bands of the modern era. And this album, Welcome to Interstate Managers, Mexican Wine, and of course, Stacy's Mom. Everybody knows Stacy's Mom song.
Yeah. And what is it, a year ago, 2 years ago
Yeah,
now?
Adam
The
Schlesinger.
passing of Adam Schlesinger. Just brilliant.
He was brilliant, and he had a hand in a bunch of stuff that people don't even know that he was involved with. He just he was a great producer. He co-produced the Final Monkeys studio record, which is arguably one of their greatest records. The Thing You Do track from the Tom Hanks film. He's involved in that. I mean, he did a bunch of stuff. This is one of their best records. Finally available again on LP after selling out in Record Store Day. And I think it's been commanding big money.
So I went back and I was jamming Fountains of Wayne when I saw this was going to be on your list, and I'm reminded of my two favorite Fountains of Wayne songs.
Let's hear.
Radiation Vibe.
Oh, I love it.
And Leave the Biker.
Oh, Leave the Biker's great. Yeah.
It's an amazing song.
Lyrically,
I had it on a
they were
compilation.
super
One of those,
cookie.
I think I was like at South by Southwest years ago when they would hand you'd get the swag bag with all the
people would literally be throwing stuff at you outside.
Yeah, and I had this CD that had that, and I'd heard of Fountains of Wayne, but I had never heard that one song. And Leave the Biker was the song that was on. I was like, that's amazing. I probably listened to it in my CD player driving back from South by Southwest a million times.
They were almost clever to a fault, because they were so quirky, so clever that maybe people get clever fatigue or something. But lyrically, really fun band. Okay, new artist. This record came out just before our last drop. We'll consider it new. This is Bria, and she has an album called Country Covers. The reason she is on the drop today is because she is in Orville Peck's band.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Female singer on a lot of Orville Peck tracks, but this is she was in a band called Friggs, which I honestly never heard, but I guess they had a following. But she put out this country covers album, and it's songs that she says inspire. What did she say? Intense dread. So, and there's some country songs, there's Waylon on there, but then there's also like John Cale and Karen Dalton and this kind of weirdy outsidery folk thing.
Yeah,
but,
these aren't country covers you would expect.
Right. But people are talking about this artist and this record.
Interesting.
Obviously, Orville Peck was a breakthrough artist from 2 years ago.
Right.
And maybe she's right behind him. We'll see.
Right.
Check it out.
Bria, ladies and gentlemen.
Next up is, this came out at the very end of last year, a box set by a band that I was always aware of, but I'd never actually heard until they were no longer a band anymore. Were you familiar with this band at all?
The name.
Yeah, the name. Right.
Australian?
They're from New York. They're a big New York City band. This is the Bush Tetras.
Missed it by a couple of contents.
And this Wharf Cat label has put out Rhythm and Paranoia, the best of the Bush Tetras, and it's 3 LPs. And so this is a band, like if you read punk rock magazines or whatever, they always talk about them.
Yeah.
Because there were so few funky bands back in the day, right? There were so few like really bass heavy, dub inspired bands. And they were one of those bands. And this is the first time I can remember the only thing that was out there was a cassette. I don't think they really had records, but as time moves on, we get an opportunity to reevaluate and check out these bands that were maybe more influential than they had sales potential. And this is certainly one of those bands that were, big in New York, and Sarah Lee, the bass player that's played with everybody. I know that she was inspired by them, came up at the same time, but it's great music. I don't know if you listened to any of it, but I checked it out.
I didn't get a chance to, but I'm going to.
Because there was really, again, there was nothing out there during the day. The band that preceded there, it was difficult to make. I mean, we can all testimony.
Right.
The fact that you were able to release a record, or you got the gumption and the money and got it together enough to release a record, it's difficult.
To do it on your own is expensive.
Yeah.
Back then.
You had to have a patron, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Had to have a patron.
I'm glad you added this.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Good for you.
So this is their 2021 release.
Yeah.
And so there's a new Hanson record, people. This is Against the World. this is the grown-up Hanson. We're going to go in for the extreme close-up of these guys since you remember them from like on SNL, like Kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Great musicians, actually, really great band.
Super talented.
Super talented.
They came and did a little acoustic thing at Fox one morning.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, this was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they were. They were obviously past their bop madness. But I got to interview them much later on. Really great guys, very, very serious about, what they do. And I'm glad to see they're still doing music.
They're from Oklahoma?
Hell, that sounds about right.
I think that's right. It's one of those things. You have a huge monster hit. Like, where do you go from there? Especially if you're a team artist.
Yeah.
And they just keep grinding and making records that are, by all accounts, very good. Great musicianship. I remember seeing their SNL performance and thinking, man, these kids can play.
Yeah. I don't remember that. But
so now back on LP.
Here we go.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some of the best of 2021, and I picked some stuff that's popping up on lists that I didn't have a chance to hear, but I think are noteworthy, as well as some reissues that we haven't talked about during the previous drops. First up is this record by a band called Lonely Guest, and Lonely Guest is not the best album cover to show on you, so
work it.
Lonely Guest is actually Tricky. It's his new studio record.
Oh, all right.
He was to tour for all of 2021.
Right.
Nobody toured in 2021. And so he stayed home and made a record, as he does. And he lined up a bunch of co-conspirators for this for this record, including one of the final recordings by Lee Scratch Perry, a guy from the Idols, that band Maximo Park. And it is really a cool listen. Tricky is one of those artists. It's impossible to nail down as far as what his sound is. Like it's DJ.
So he came out of that whole, like, when Massive Attack was hitting,
absolutely,
Goldie, all those kind of artists, right? It's very Manchester-ish or somewhere around there. I could be wrong, but he was a thing. Yeah,
and still has a very, very loyal listenership, fan base, and this record is cool. I want to listen to more of it.
Once again, I don't understand how telephones work. So we have to say hello to Alice, Gavin Bapineau. What is happening? Jamie Garcia or Jaime. Oh, Jaime, what's up? Good to see you there. And Rose Clinton joining us this morning.
Hey,
happy New Year to you.
In.
And it continues. Where are we at?
Here we go.
All right.
Next up.
Oh, this is exciting.
This is big.
Very exciting.
Get this sucker right here. We got.
Been working out.
You have to.
pick.
This is Fela box set number 5.
Fela Kuti.
So Fela Kuti is a musician who's. Might be a slight exaggeration. Has released more albums than I have blood cells. Afrobeat, great. Created his own genre, pulled in, tons of brilliant musicians that are the greatest musicians of the African musicians of the genre. Here's some pictures of the individual records in the back. They always had these crazy illustrations, usually very long form songs that are just jammed with very political, lyrical content.
Definitely an element of activism to his work.
Absolutely, and his son is carrying on.
Got him in trouble.
Got him in plenty of trouble.
Continually in his back in Africa when he was working. But he's one of these guys. The first time I heard of Fela, I think was, obviously Peter Gabriel.
Oh yeah.
And that's the first time I even became aware of him. And I don't know if he actually took him out on tour, but then I remember a concert, or at least footage of him getting on MTV, and I was like, what? I mean,
yeah, what is it? Yeah,
it was just a tornado on stage.
One of the most influential world music artists
Absolutely.
Of all time.
Absolutely.
And worth you checking out just because it's a huge band, almost kind of an orchestrated. That's probably the best word. I mean, makes you feel like it's a small world, in fact, because there's a lot of similarities to like James Brown, to that big, super funky, but really jammy, long songs. Yeah. Great stuff. Here's another reissue. Turnover. Do you know these guys?
guess.
The Run for Cover label is reissuing their records, which were all small batch records originally. This is 2019 reissue. Cool band, dreamy, jangly guitars. Another band that I think that it wouldn't surprise me if you started hearing their songs, TV shows and commercials or whatever. Very, very melodic, bouncy stuff, but also
cool.
Yeah, they're cool. This one's on Purple Vinyl. It's the first time their records have been available since you would probably have bought it from them at a show or something. Nice. So good to have them back.
Good stuff.
So again, back to a esoteric artist so she's been quietly making records for the last 10 or 15 years. She's made a lot of records.
Right.
Marissa Nadler is, I would describe her as like a goth folk artist. She's like very esoteric, but it's like in this dreamy kind of almost Cocteau Twinsy kind of thing.
Okay, I like those two things together.
So her new record, this is Path of the Clouds. And she was inspired by, what is the name of the show? Unsolved Mysteries. So she wrote this song cycle about like unsolved mysteries, and that's what this record is. And her record's usually pretty insular. It's like voice and guitar with like signal processing and some like tape effects and stuff.
Okay.
But she worked. This is another very interesting lockdown record where she collaborated with people by having them play on tracks online, including the guitar play. There's a lot of really interesting guitar treatments on the songs from the guitar player that was in Lightning Bolt and Battles and now is in Mets. And so it's got a real dissonance noise factor to it that turns out her voice is very beautiful, dreamy. She multi-tracks it in a very interesting way.
One day we're going to figure all this copyright nonsense on, and you'll actually be able to hear clips on this show.
Check this out. This is a really cool record, and I know everybody is, the artists were sitting at home and it was such a terrible time. But some of these artists during the lockdown or pandemic just emerged with brilliant.
And our friend Mary Lattimore plays on it.
There you go. There you go.
Connected we just connected the dots. Yeah, there you go. That's how you do
Woo-hoo. It. All right.
We need the who did the thing? Which show he'd throw that? Was it Letterman? He'd throw the pencil and you'd get the breaking glass sound or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we need that.
I'm working on it.
Paul,
we'll get our production team.
Paul,
to make that happen for us.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a debut album from another really kooky band. They're on the Warp label. This is Squid Bright Green Field. Really cool.
I know the name. I don't know any of the music.
So
never heard this. I don't think
they've only released singles and EPs. We're living in the SoundCloud.
So this is all instrumental stuff, right? This is really?
It is. He has a very unique voice, which might not appeal to everybody. I would. But it is really cool. It's very quirky, post-punky, angular guitar with like funky horns in there. But then there's like some instrumental passages in there. But his voice it's almost got that kind of Fred Schneider thing from the B-52s where you're like yelling over the song, but he's English. So it's got like, it's different. It's its own thing. But this is their first full length and it's popping up on all kinds of best of lists. And it's worth checking out. It's its own thing. It's cool. And I'm missing a record that's in here. Can I run get to them?
Go get two of them.
Right, what did I do with them?
Yeah, I don't know what you did with them.
We have to have visual props.
So just so everybody knows, not everybody from the production team is back from holiday yet. So we're missing a floor director. We're missing a couple of key people, and that's why this happens. It's live.
I mean, this is what you get.
Zumbrill just brought up the side season 2. We're off and running. Welcome back.
Okay, back on track.
Please.
This band, The Coral, they get lumped in with all the Britpop stuff because they're British, and they kind of emerged around the same time as a little bit after Oasis and Blur and all that stuff. But they are really a different band. There's a lot of funk and soul and garage and stuff that comes in there, but it's still very British and fits into that. They've made a bunch of records. They never really connected in the U.S.
Right.
They're almost exclusively a UK phenomenon. This is a double LP concept album about the band members' remembrances of, if you live in the always rainy, always cold Great Britain,
right?
You get like a slim time of the year to go to the seaside, these
Sure.
little resorts,
Yes.
and hang out with your families. So it's
The-
them writing the song cycle about
black
that.
pools and whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know how actually buried the concept is. It's a lot to bite off. I don't know how much the concept really pops through all that much, but interesting one. And this is being regarded as like maybe their best record ever.
Wow, okay.
After taking the hiatus and some time off, double record, lot to bite off, but probably worth it.
Okay.
Now you tell me what you think about the Hold Steady. I think that pretty much every time they make a record, it ends up on people's best of lists.
I saw them in the small room at Warehouse Live, and it was one of the best live
They were
hour and a
great.
half that I've ever spent.
And that's why
I got to, and I also had the chance to interview their front lead vocalist, frontman. His name completely escapes me right now. But if you don't know anything about these guys, it is well worth your time to find out. One of a great American rock band that is working right now.
Yeah, very Springsteen inspired.
A little
like
bit of that
energy,
and it's like it's one of those great situations where Craig, you know, this guy doesn't have a Freddie Mercury kind of a voice. This is a meat and potatoes, rock and roll, great storytelling, great, you know, just works, just really good. I love this band.
In the records are like always really kind of storytelling records. Again, he has a unique voice, but you know, really their first two records are really known for those. Those were records that I remember people everyone listening to them.
Sure.
And then since then, it's kind of one of those things where it's hard to. All their records are great, but it's hard to maintain that profile after you kick the door down.
When you were definitely the belle of the ball for a minute.
Yeah, but this is a strong record. Open door policy. Check it out if you're new to the band. They've got a bunch of cool records, and I mean, if they come to town, you have
to see it. One of the first, not the first song, because the first song I heard by them was that one. It was I think it was like a black and white video, something, and it was right at the end of MTV actually still playing videos.
Yeah.
And I want maybe 120 minutes or something like that, and they actually played the song, and probably off the
Boys and Girls.
Yeah, and I want to say they were wearing like suits. I don't remember.
Yeah,
and then I didn't really think much. They kind of disappeared until a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you got to hear this song." And again, this is going back years, and he played "Sequestered in Texas" for me.
Oh yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, no doubt.
It is, and that has a lot of Springsteen kind of feel, especially when the piano lines, those descending piano, cascading notes in there. Worth your time, people. Go check them out. Start with those first two records.
Yeah, you know, I saw them at the urging of an employee. I had read about the record. I knew that it was really good. Then had an employee. It was right when I guess the second record was released, and they were playing it at Walters. He's like, "You got to go see this band. You'll love it."
Blew the roof off.
Yeah. It was terrific.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a surprise edition for which there's no graphics.
Sure.
Because this just showed up, and we'll go with season 2.
Like much of the great jazz we're talking about here, this is an improvisational moment.
Okay. But this record deserves to be talked about on the week of release. This is because it's been so long languishing, waiting for a release. People are going to start reading about this. I think it's getting good press. It's David Bowie. His album Toy. Look how super weird this is, right?
Whoa, what is this?
And so, you know, David is, you know, visionary artist, but he's such a visionary that before he passed, in the time from his heart attack until he passed away, he curated all of his posthumous
Right, and we
releases.
talked about this on the last box set.
This album was from 2000, and his plan was, this is before people started doing all these, you know, dropping surprise albums or whatever, and his plan was to do a surprise album with his touring band that were fantastic,
right?
Redoing, changing all the arrangements of some of his classic and lesser known material, and so they cut all this, but in the meantime, his Virgin was for sale to Universal, and he had an option to get out of the deal. He left the label. The record never came out. He signed with Sony and did Heathen instead. So this was a legit record planned for release that just
never,
victim of timing, never came out. And here we are, 2022. Here it is, David Bowie's Toy.
I thought where you were going with that story is that in 2000 he planned to be like released after his death or like a couple of years afterwards.
Well, he knew a few years
because everybody thought, oh, Black Star, that's it. Nope.
He staged all that stuff. He staged
so
it,
crazy.
so it's coming out for his plan.
I saw him a couple of times, but incredible live act.
Oh,
have we reached the end?
We have reached the end.
Yeah, that's amazing. Let's check the old comment line here. Make sure we're not leaving anybody out.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
You know, so guys, yeah, it looks like we did. It looks like we made it. You know, I was a little nervous because always, you know, coming, you know, the brand new show of a brand new season, there's a lot of pressure, but I kind of feel like we came out of the gate pretty strong.
Yeah, this is good. We had a lot of good stuff to, you know, we were able to put our validation on a bunch of stuff.
Absolutely. They said we wouldn't last. They said we wouldn't make it. You know,
we proved them wrong.
Yeah, again. But I know I was excited as you were when we got the call from management, and you know, they just let us know.
Yeah, we got renewed. I think I'm still in contract negotiations.
Yeah. Well, it'll all work. You should talk to my agent. All right, guys, we're going to let you guys go now. That is the drop. We are back next Thursday, 12:30. Tell your friends. Meet us here. Jump in the comments. We'll see you. Peace.